Here's the story of a bearish trader who was selling into every single bounce. All his orders hit the bid, such a sucker. Sometimes you buy the dip. It's the story of a bullish trader who was buying each down tick he saw. He averaged down and rarely stopped out on the edge of blowing up. Until one day they subscribed to Routine Trader and realized they can do both buy and sell. That there are two sides to Mr. Market, and beating him both ways is pretty swell. Yeah, pretty swell, so very swell. Beating Mr. Market both ways is pretty swell.
Cheers to another trading day. Cheers to OPEX, the biggest July OPEX on record. I'm Mastro, and this is your routine briefing. Let's jump right in here. We had a really nice move out of the gate. I personally did not catch this move. I don't start trading until the lovely opening bell. So, oops. I'm going to go ahead and transition everything here, and we'll go from there. Okay, so if you looked at my bullet points before this, I doubt that anybody did because I just posted it on Twitter. Yet I was talking about how we were opening right near that significant resistance, didn't quite touch the gap. Yet, like I said, we're near that pretty significant resistance there, and that was also at the edge of today's expected move. So you can see that we had a bit of a mark down today. So remember that for these OPEX, they often have a mark up or a mark down. So we did have that mark down today, kind of taking us back to the middle of our overnight range. Let me go ahead and expand this chart here, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. So you saw yesterday that primary support there, denoted by the cyan line, really was the, at least for now, the major low of this corrective move, and we'll see what happens relative to that. So where we are right here in the middle of this range, really 84 to 72, not the strongest place to get involved in my opinion. I do like that 45.72 reclaim maybe for a long, yet I was really looking for that nice short play at the bell. I was hoping kind of for a push higher and then the ability to short it from there. So as it stands right now, not too interested in getting involved quite yet. I really want to see a reclaim of 452. So the 452 level on the SPY is near that prior day low there. Yet really, like I said, if we get a nice push below 72 here on the ES and really down into that 64, 65 area, I will get involved a little before that. But ideal trade, reclaim a 452 on the SPY, at least for me, on the bull side, and then conversely, if we get a little push, I'd love to fade that gap, and I will fade a little bit before the gap too, just because, like I said, that is near the edge of our expected move today. It's actually beyond the expected move. I believe the high of the expected move, let me tell you here real quick. High of the expected move is 45.85 on the ES. So we will see. We will see what happens there. Really want to give it some room to start off here. So let's talk a little bit about that war up. We'll talk about everything else we got going on, and we'll get back to the screens and whatever other content you are consuming outside of this eclectic video, we'll say. So I'm going to be on Twitch, by the way. I haven't been mentioning this in the briefings, but we have a growing Twitch audience, which is super exciting for me personally. I love sharing my rough transitions with the world, and so we can all exercise our ears and get them more resilient together. So anyways, just wanted to say that real quick, and we'll go right back to regularly scheduled programming now. So starting with this warm-up, by the way, it's Casual Friday. I hope you're all having an excellent Casual Friday, even if it's not casual for you. We are casually going to do our best to make some money today, like every day, but especially on Fridays because nobody likes going to the weekend with a red P&L. I don't like going to the weekend with a red P&L, so maybe you do, and if you do, I commend your patience, we'll say. I digress. Back to the warm-up. Let me go ahead and get rid of this. So you can see our major SPY levels today. This warm-up is available in the description of this video, along with all the other content, and including mechanics and how I trade things. You can see that in that folder. Yet the warm-up is where we kind of hang out to start the day. You can see what I mean. The edge of that expected move somewhere between 82 and 85, depending on your calculation. Bottom side being between 46 and 49. So I really do like, if I were to make a request to the market gods, I would love a nice little pullback down to that area, retest that overnight low, and then get a reclaim of that. So I do really like the best trades of the day, in my opinion, are going to be that overnight high trap and that overnight low trap. Remember, OPEX, some of the choppiest tape, really favors those trappy type areas. So 455 is the gap, 452 the downside. Everything in the middle is noise. Like I said, I will take a potential bullish trade a little higher if we do get a push below that 72 area and then a reclaim of that. Yeah, really around this 84, not interested. I'll take I'll take a go, or have a go rather, if we get near that overnight high. Yet I just want to say, in my opinion, 75 to 88, this whole zone here is just all chop and really hard to predict what's going to happen. I mean, it's always hard to predict what's going to happen, but particularly in this area here. So waiting to see what happens on the open. I'll fill in this open, whether it be an open drive or open auction, whatever we have today. I will fill that in at 10. I like to give that until 10. Let's take a little peek. See what we got going on so far. Our opening price is 45.8175. I'm gonna go ahead and mark that on here with the yellow horizontal. 81.75. And so far we do have that open test drive look, I believe. What time is it? 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, very interesting. So the opening candle is this one here. The open test drive look so far. We'll see if that holds. That will be bullish if that does hold. Yeah, like I said, I'd like to give it until 10 to see what happens there. So as we wait, let's go back to that warm up real quick, and then we'll move on to the bigger picture and see what we got going on here. These are the SPY levels for today. Fortunately, less than yesterday. Yesterday there was a bunch of SPY levels just because it was so uncertain, at least to me, where we wanted to bounce and reject, etc. So those levels are going to be there, and I will update them throughout the day. And you can also see, I talk about this often, this volume profile behavior. I think is really helpful if you look at that on a TPO chart especially, but even if you just want to draw your own volume profile. So this will be updated as the day goes on. If it needs updating, and it's always there for you, it's in the description of this video, and you can just kind of add it to your bookmark list if you find it helpful. So we're going to move this off the screen, and let's talk about the slightly bigger picture. So not much has changed on the weekly. I do like to talk about it just because it's important to kind of ground ourselves, I think, with that weekly chart. Let's pop that real quick so we got going on. So horizontals are pretty much the same on here. Again, these yellow horizontals just represent the 3-week swing highs and lows, and there are some dailies on there from that SPY chart when they're different. So values kind of staying the same there, still at about 433 area, still pretty far away. We are still in that state of imbalance. We're still above all trend lines. Still very bullish, still favoring those reclaims and those bullish trades to the upside. Although, again, given the overextension, you can really see that in the daily chart. Point that out real quick before we talk more about it. You can see that given where this forced standard deviation VWAP band is, we're so extended that I do think that, although lower probability, I think it's perfectly reasonable to be taking these counter trend trades. Just obviously keeping your wrist tight and recognizing that they are lower probability given the strength of the uptrend. But that's what we have going on there on the weekly chart. So moving back to that daily chart, go ahead and hide this. So daily chart looks pretty nice actually. We have that swing low put in yesterday and that swing high from today, or excuse me, from the day prior. You have two nice little candles here. So you got this reversal 3 near the top, and you have this potential reversal 2 building. So what's really going to be important level today is that gap, slightly above 455. So we hit that gap again, initially looking to fade it, yet it's very possible that we do get that reversal and sustained movement. So it's a little bit tough around that gap again, just kind of playing the odds around that expected move. We have that nice tight range here. And then to the downside, that first immediate support, if we do get any type of sustained sell-off, it's going to be this trend line. This is from the October 13th bottom, and that is going to be, I think, a nice spot to also potentially buy the dip. That's around near 450. If we do get that low, again, I'm really looking for 452 at first. So the overall magnet, if we do get any type of sustained selling, does include this 445 to 443 area, 443 being that gap fill. So just keep that in mind as we move on here. If we do start to see any type of fear, we are not seeing that fear, and that is reflected in the lovely volatility chart here, which you can see has just been kind of bouncing between 1540-ish and 1620-ish for a few days now. For me, waiting until we get that push above 1620 for those first real signs of fear. We are trying to make some type of move volatility. You can see we broke out of this nice little triangle here, and no matter how you draw it, really, we have alleviated some of that extreme velocity to the downside. So just again, watching what happens in here until we get above that 1620 area. I'm not too enthused about any significant bearishness in the market. Conversely, I think if we pop back below that green horizontal, back into the triangle, and definitely if we start to sell through it, that's probably when we see that next leg of the uptrend from there. So where are our major levels today? Besides those SPY levels, if you want to look at it in terms of ES before popping off here, go ahead and expand this chart. And I will also show you in the newsletter, if you're not a subscriber, by the way, retailtrading.com. In the newsletter, I will have a picture of that 4-hour chart so you can see a little more zoomed out, but I like to look at it in a 15-minute when we're kind of talking through it. So again, these two areas here, this area is now becoming resistance, so we'll color it red. But really, for me, 84 and really up into that overnight high all the way through the 72 area is just chop. Really need to see that push below and reclaim for that first bullish trade, and then ideally we push to this cyan horizontal here for that prior day low test and a possible trap around there. So that is the immediate level. So if we want to just condense it a little bit and look a little bit lower, if we do lose that prior day low, what does a loss look like? For me, it's some acceptance, and I'd like to see a 15-minute candle confirmation. I think it's a pretty quick move down to 35 there. So another potential dip buy there, but really a decent short as well. If we lose that prior day low, I think you got a good 20 points if I had to put a number to it. And then if we lose that 35, so definitely looking for a rebut of that 35 yet again. Bear case, we lose that 35. I think it's likely we go all the way down to this next cyan horizontal there with potential supports at the green horizontals in between. So if we do start to do that, I will, I guess, be looking for a move down to the next major cyan support right below 44.70 there. Yeah, if we're being realistic, I don't think we're going to be getting below 44.93 today. So that's what I'm looking at on the downside. Looking to the upside, it's a little easier, I think. So you have the major resistances obviously at that gap, slightly above 4,600, and really we get above 4,600, you do have another resistance at about 46.12 on the ES. Yet really, I think that magnet is going to be 46.25 is that pink magenta, we'll say, line there. And we do have resistances above, obviously, yet I think if you start to see that time and volume above 46.25, so as we see aggression along with that, we'll probably have that breakout move that's going to be moving much higher. The initial target, I think, of any additional up move is somewhere between, we'll say, 46.50 to 60, yet really the major level I'm watching there is what happens around 46.25, and obviously the resistances along the way. So let me see. I don't think I need to talk about anything much higher than that, so let's zoom in. Just real quick, I think we have the downside trades figured out. So in terms of breakout trades, it's going to matter what happens at that gap. So just going back to the daily chart real quick here. This is a reversal candle, screen one. So you pop above it and we start to initiate. I think you can take that acceptance trade, the acceptance of that gap, the gap and go, I believe it's called, trade in that situation. So again, lower probability. Any type of breakout sell trades are always lower probability, yet I do think there's an argument to get involved if that does happen. So we will see. We are tentatively trying to explore a little lower here. Again, still in that chop range, so we'll have to wait it out, be patient, see if we don't get a nice opportunity as the day progresses here. And that is all I have for you. So I'm going to let you go. If you like this video, as always, I appreciate the thumbs up to help with the algorithm, get us back to those double-digit views. And I appreciate any engagement in the comment section of this video or on Twitter. We can find me at Routine Trader. So all important resources, once again, in the description. If you want to follow along in that warm-up document or check out the strategy, it's in that routine day trading document, which is in the folder in the description, along with some other stuff, including some option strategies I like as well. So if you stand by, sorry about that. Okay. So that's all I have for you. I thank you for your attention. I hope you have an excellent weekend. Stay classy until Monday.